Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue. I'm Eric, back with a new ranking video. Today, I'm covering all 17 coasters at Cedar Point. My favorite amusement park in the world. Pretty much all the rides are great. Before we get into this, keep in mind this is my opinion, my experiences, so take it with a grain of salt. And I'm going to be starting with the coaster I consider bad, then kiddie coasters, then moving to the actual quality ones. And last place is Corkscrew. As you can see in this video, every person who likes Corkscrew is currently on the ride, because it's really short and painful. Fortunately, it is kind of short, so that kind of helps it, honestly. Number 16 is Wilderness Run. A nice little kiddie coaster. It doesn't have a whole lot to it, though, but as far as kiddie coasters go, it's pretty good. Nothing against it, it's just small and should be lower than most other rides there. Number 15 is Woodstock Express. It's pretty good. One of the better Vekoma coasters in the Cedar Fair chain, honestly. It's very smooth, some decent intensity for a kiddie coaster, unless you call this a junior coaster. It's pretty alright. There's nothing stellar about it. It is a kiddie coaster still, but it's good. I enjoy it. Number 14, Cedar Creek Mine Ride. This is a very nice location along the small lake, sort of. It's like Cedar Creek, I know, but it looks more like a lake to me. The ride is pretty intense, honestly. It's one of the best mine trains I think I've been on. Granted, I do like a few others better, like Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Over Texas is my personal favorite. But this is a pretty well laid out, pretty good kiddie coaster overall. It's a bit bigger than the average one because it's an aero mine train, but it's still pretty good. Number 13 is Iron Dragon. My least favorite suspended coaster, but still nothing against it. It's a nice ride because it has its cool throwing elements and some nice theming on it, but there isn't anything particularly interesting about the ride. It's a bit slower and less intense than some of the other suspended coasters, but overall, it's an enjoyable ride, though last time I went I skipped it because it's not as good as others. Number 12 is Blue Streak, a surprisingly intense small wooden coaster. With some really good airtime, the blue color's nice, technically a parking lot coaster. Pretty good layout, 55 or so years old now. Some really good airtime, surprisingly. However, it is still a pretty short ride and has a few of the elements kind of bumpy because it's old, but still a good ride. The only one I haven't been on last time I went. Because all these top 11 are. Gemini is the worst one I went on that I did on my last trip, but I like it a lot. I win pretty much every time. I recommend the blue side normally. High-fiving people illegally is always really fun. The airtime's actually pretty decent. The final elements are somewhat intense. This is a really solid racing coaster that's really fun, and I definitely recommend going anytime you go to Cedar Point. And top 10 time. Number 10 is Wicked Twister. Wicked Twister is a surprisingly intense impulse coaster. Some people say it's rough. I get great rides on it all the time. I enjoy being in the back row normally. The launch is really good. The height is decent. It's the weakest launch coaster in this park, but when you have so many great ones, there's nothing really wrong with that. This ride is very fun. I always enjoy riding it. Every time I go to Cedar Point, I definitely have to get on it at least once. Alright, this next pick may be a bit controversial, but number 9 is Rougarou. Some like this ride a lot. I don't really. The first drop's pretty good, I think, and the first loop is actually really good, but right after that, the head banging really starts. It's really, really uncomfortable, and it's one of the longer floorless coasters in terms of ride time, or at least it feels like that, so that kind of stinks. But the first loop and maybe the dive loop are really, really good, so I did have to put this above Wicked Twister. That said, the pain is definitely real on this ride. I think ride it once, and if you like it, keep riding. If you don't like it, be with me and call it Rougharoo, or Ruga Rough, either one, but that's just personally how I feel. Another controversial one for number 8, Magnum XL 200. I thought some of the airtime was really good. I thought some of it was really painful. I don't know why, but some rides I get, they're not really that good. Others are really fantastic, and it would rank higher if the best ride was the only one I got on. The first drop is okay. The airtime hills sometimes kind of throw you out of your seat in a good way. Other times you kind of fall back into them uncomfortably. I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird one. First hypercoaster, one of Arrow's top rides for sure. It's still really good. I would recommend riding this. It's just one that I don't think is quite as overall as a good ride as others. And number 7 is Raptor. A tough one to rank because in 2019 I went to the park and I thought the second half was a bit bumpy after the brake run. I went again this time and it was really intense but not rough. I really liked Raptor this time. The elements are pretty fantastic. The intensity is quite strong. The ride feels a bit short to me. That's the one thing that kind of holds it back. And it doesn't have quite as unique or interesting a layout as Montu or Banshee, but still a very good B&M invert. And number 6 is Valraven. I'm a sucker for the dive coasters. I like the first drop on this one. I think the elements are really good, the dive loop, the barrel roll sort of thing. The only issue I have with the ride is the brake run in the middle, but I was surprised as to how intense and forceful this ride was last time I went to the park, and I decided it does deserve to be above Raptor for that, because there isn't really any element I dislike on the ride besides the brake run if you count that, but even that isn't a huge deal. It doesn't ruin the pacing the way I thought it would. Overall, definitely a good ride I recommend, with some surprisingly good force to it. And now for the top 5. Number 5 is going to be Gatekeeper. I love Gatekeeper a lot. One of the most underrated coasters in the world, in my opinion, because of the first drop being excellent. The inversions are fantastic. The airtime is surprisingly effective. The ride does have some pretty intense moments, mostly in its inversions. The near-miss elements are very fun. The only thing that kind of doesn't work is the final helix and brake run, because they didn't really know how to get back to the station but still wanted to add a cool element. I understand why it is as it is, but overall, an intense ride. I enjoy it. Inside and outside seats are both great. The first drop is quite fun, and overall, I think this ride deserves a lot more respect. Wing coasters are really cool, and I hope more of them spring up. Controversial top 4 time. Number 4 is Top Thrill Dragster. The greatest launch ever. The launch is one of the best moments on any coaster, probably the best. But it is just the one hill and then the ride's over. When I rode this, somebody's mask fell off because I went during COVID. That was pretty fun. But the other rides have more complete layouts. Number 3 is Maverick. I think some people probably put this higher if they knew that Dragster was below this. But Maverick, for me, has one major issue. It has good stuff, like the first drop is pretty strong, the launches, the intensity is quite excellent, and the inversions are really good. For me, the second launch is the best part of the ride. I really enjoy that. But unfortunately, the restraints sometimes kill me. It really hurts, like Superman the Ride level. I don't think it feels like it's that tight down. I think it's just the way the restraint is laid out, and may depend on which card you get. But 2 of the last 4 rides I've had really felt like that. Granted, this is a really great ride that must be ridden. And number 2 is Millennium Force. Most of people would disagree with me on this one. And don't worry, there's a dislike button and a comment section. But I think the first drop is one of the best of any roller coaster I've been on. Maybe the best. I think a lot of people underrate this one for its airtime and intensity, because I thought there were 4 really strong airtime moments on the ride. The large layout is good. I think many moments are actually really intense, like the sort of helix thing that goes around the Forbidden Frontier area always really gets me thrown around in a good way and really feels like the ultimate adrenaline rush. I also think Night Ride is definitely something you should try. It's really fun. And even if there's an element someone doesn't like, I think even though airtime and intensity are really great, and the first drop is fantastic, my favorite part is the music on this ride, because the station theme is one I have to dance to every time I hear it. I definitely recommend you look that one up, honestly. And now for number 1. Number 1 probably surprises no one. It's Steel Vengeance. Steel Vengeance is my favorite coaster of all time. Millennium Force is my 3rd, though, so take that for what it's worth. The airtime is fantastic. The Outer Bank turn is amazing. The first drop is great. The intensity is really good. The layout is long and well used. The inversions are fantastic. And everything about it is just so good. On the last trip, I made a video about this actually. I rode it in pouring rain. I could not believe the ride was still open. I could not keep my eyes open during the ride, but it was really fun to be in that rain. It added to the intensity, and this ride is just fantastic, and I absolutely think it's the best coaster at Cedar Point and the best coaster in the world. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below which coasters you like best or you like the least at Cedar Point. And like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to help support the channel and so you know when I make more videos. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.